What's my hot take on the Israel-Palestine conflict? What's my just shooting from the hip, totally going to cut to the heart of things take? My take is it's very complicated. Some people, however, think it's really, really simple. And so they're giving their 60-second hot takes.
I keep getting comments that if I was in Gaza, I would be killed for being queer. And first off, there are queer people in Gaza, and they're being killed for being Palestinian. Secondly, I don't need to move across the ocean to experience violence for being queer. I literally had to evacuate my place 6 months ago because people were so violent and sending me death threats, literally hunting me down for being trans. I will never stand by Israel's actions. I won't stand by Israel in general. And if you're queer and you are standing with Israel, you're wrong, and you really need to take a step back and evaluate your morals and values.
This individual has a little bit of a point, which is that the reason that BLM and Antifa and the Queers for Palestine and all these people support Hamas over Israel is because Israel is a stand-in their minds for Western civilization. You know, the libs love talking about science and how great science is. So I would just test that thesis with an experiment, which is I would just recommend that the Queers for Palestine go visit the Gaza Strip. But they won't do it because they know they'll get thrown off a rooftop. So they're admitting by not going to visit the Gaza Strip and by never, ever being willing to do that, they're recognizing that what they're saying is not true and what we're saying is right, which is all I really wanted in the first place.
So in the United States, we have the Second Amendment, which states a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. So essentially, the whole purpose is to revolt against a government that's oppressing its people, right? Like, if I'm misunderstanding, please correct me, but...
Okay, I'll put a pause there. I will correct you. It's self-protection.
My guns.
Oh.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang!
Wow.
Bang!
It is for, in a very personal sense, stopping people from murdering you or from burglarizing your home. And then at a community sense, it's for protecting not only your family, but the collection of families living around you. And then at the highest political sense, yes, it's to be able to protect yourself from enemies, foreign and domestic. That's true. So this woman is seriously oversimplifying it.
So why do people support the Second Amendment, but then call Hamas terrorists? Just think about that.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Hamas targets civilians, which is what we commonly call terrorism. And we support the Second Amendment because people have a right to self-protection.
So what brings you here today? To support Palestinian rights. We as Jews are embarrassed what's happening there in the state of Israel, in the Jewish name. And what's your message to the people of Palestine? They shouldn't give up the struggle. They should continue to fight and not give up the struggle against the state of Israel, because by the end, Palestine will be free, because this is truth.
Yeah, this video is pretty interesting to me because it's a Hasidic Jew, and there are a lot of Hasidic Jews who oppose the nation state of Israel, just as there have been Jews throughout history for 150 years who have opposed Zionism. That guy seems to be proving my point, which is that it's a very complicated issue. When you want to protect your data, you've got to go to expressvpn.com/MichaelYT. As you know, there are a lot of people who want to look at what you are doing online. The government, the ISPs, the big tech companies, they all are digging into your stuff, and so you should use the #1 rated VPN on the market, ExpressVPN. Head on over there right now. We've got all sorts of great deals and promos if you are a listener and a viewer of this show. Do not wait. You got to go immediately over to ExpressVPN/Michael, letter Y, letter T. That is expressvpn.com/MichaelYT today.
It is so important for queer people to support Palestine, and I'm sure you've been seeing all this discord from queer people who are not Muslim. But as someone who is Muslim, listen to me, especially if you grew up in a Muslim household. You can acknowledge that Palestine may not have had the best policies towards queer people, but you can also acknowledge that Palestine is one of the most progressive nations on the planet. Considering what they have been through, Palestine is just like other Muslim countries when it comes to queer policies. Yeah, they could have had much better policies. Not to mention, there are so many queer people in Palestine. Take a look at Queering the Map, okay? There are so many stories of queer Palestinians. And if that does not resonate with you, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know how to create empathy within you for these people.
There are a lot of stories about queer Palestinians. There are a lot of fables about a lot of people. But the point he's making here is fair enough, which is the fact that Palestine is predominantly Muslim and enforces this fairly brutal vision of Islam, the fact that they thereby don't support queerness is used as a political cudgel against Palestinian statehood, when in fact the same thing is true of any number of Muslim countries in the region. But generally speaking, yeah, that's true. They've got a more conservative sexual ethic throughout a lot of the Arab states.
Centering this issue with queer people, guys, it is not about queer people. It's about Palestinian liberation, and that includes queer Palestinians. Go show support for Palestine.
Yes, that is what it is about. And so that's why BLM and Antifa and Queers for Palestine and Hamas are somehow all on the same team here, is they're all rebelling against norms and traditions of the power that has dominated the globe for recent memory and for the modern era, which is the West. And ironically, that very notion of liberation is an unfortunate product of the West.
Be very careful of what you say about Israel. Any believer going against Israel, you are making yourself an enemy against God.
If the U.S. and the European nations are so for Israel, they should give them land from Europe or land from the United States to live on. They should let them make a country there, not on Palestine. The Bible does not say anything about Israel because Israel was created in 1948 when the British and the United Nations decided to fight a war with Palestine and cut that country in half to create an ethno-state for Ashkenazi Jewish people.
So the First Lady, I guess, is arguing a perspective known as dispensationalism, which is a view very prominent among American evangelical Protestants. The argument that there is a distinction between Israel and the church, which is contrary to the traditional view, which is that the church is the new Israel, that is the continuation of Israel. And then the lady comes in to disagree with the First Lady, and she says, this is BS, man. The Palestinians have been in the land since before time, and they have the nationalist right to this land. And you say, well, why is that the case? Why do the Palestinians have, why do the Palestinian Muslims have it? Islam didn't even exist until the 7th century. So why do they get the right to the Holy Land? And this woman's answer would obviously be, well, because they conquered it. Okay, well then what about the State of Israel? You're saying that, well, the State of Israel is unjust because they came into the Holy Land and conquered it in 1948. All right, but you implicitly grounded the right of the Palestinian Muslims to have the territory on the very same right of conquest. So now it looks like there's a double standard, and this lady just doesn't want there to be a Jewish state there or anything. Okay, how's that? Did that clarify anything? Probably not. Probably not very much, because it's a very complicated issue. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. See you next time.
Hey, terrorist! Terrorize this!